for 30, presented by Buick Encore.
There are many controversies over the origin of the baseball. It is still not known who first created it. It may have been U.S. military officer Abner Doubleday in 1839 in Cooperstown, New York. Early baseball was played by soldiers during their pastime in war. In Massachusetts, Ellis Drake was another possibility, the son of a shoemaker who may have designed the legendary two-piece figure-8 stitch in the 1840s. The creation then translated to the Wright brothers, who began selling them. It also may have just been an ordinary Massachusetts boy who loved the game of baseball, which was called a round ball at the time. Just out of scratch, he would compose the ball of lead wrapped in yarn with a layer of leather. It is also rumored that it may have been Alexander Cartwright who founded the Knickerbocker Baseball Club of New York in 1845, which was the first ever organized baseball club. He constructed the rules to the game and the field design.
Commodity of the baseball has a widespread history. Around the late 1850s, the baseball was handmade by players or merchants. There was no standard set for the ball in the early stages. The ball was very inconsistent, being very light at the time due to the rules that players were allowed to throw the ball at a player as an out. It was made of yarn and string, which covered a core by a piece of leather stitched, which became the figure 8. In the 1850s, early ball clubs changed regulations to the ball. The baseball would be 2 to 3/4 inches in diameter, weighing 5½ to 6 ounces. In the late 1850s, baseball started being made in factories in Natick, Massachusetts by the company Harwood & Sons. In the 1860s, another convention made the core of the ball Indian rubber in the weight to 5 3/4 ounces. John Van Horn was the main manufacturer of baseballs too at the time and was responsible for the addition of the white-colored baseball. In 1871, the National Association of Baseball Players kept the ball unchanged. In 1878, the official ball of the National Baseball League was by Albert Spalding. In 1977, Rawlings became the official ball and still to this day. Today, the baseball weighs 5 ounces and measures 9 inches in circumference.
When they make baseballs for the pros, they aren't just playing around. They build these balls precisely to league standards, and incredibly, those standards date back to 1872. Each ball is uniform in circumference and weight, so the game is an equal contest. Crowds will go wild for these professional baseballs, and at the heart of each one is something called the pill. The pill is smaller than a golf ball. It's about 10½ centimeters in circumference. Inside the pill's rubber casing is a sphere of cork. They pour latex adhesive over hundreds of pills loaded into a drum. Rollers spin the drum to evenly coat the pills with the adhesive. This adhesive never dries out completely, and the pills remain sticky to the touch. Next, they loop 4-ply wool around the pill. This machine spins the pill to wind the yarn around it. This winding substantially fattens the pill. It's the first time a camera has ever been allowed to record this proprietary machine, so we can't show you all of it. They wind a second layer of wool around the pills. This yarn is 3-ply, and it thickens the ball a little more. For a third winding, they use another 3-ply yarn, but it's a bit lighter. The various layers of yarn are what gives the baseball resilience, so it springs back into shape despite being hit repeatedly. For the final winding, they use a much thinner polywool blend, because its surface is smoother. This wound pill is called the center. They weigh it and measure its circumference, which should be 22.5 centimeters. They add adhesive to a spinning drum, then load the centers into it. As the centers tumble, they absorb the glue and the wound fibers adhere to each other. The centers air dry for 48 hours, but remain sticky. Using this hydraulic press, they punch out figure-8 shapes from leather, complete with holes around the periphery, allowing them to be stitched into baseball covers. But first, they stamp the date and lot number onto them. Then they wrap them in wet towels. The moisture will make the leather pliable enough to sew. They roll the water-based adhesive onto one side of the cutouts, which sticks to the moist leather. They press 2 cutouts to the center sticky surface. It's an exact fit. They clamp the leather-clad ball in a vise, and it's time to sew. Working with 2 needles, the sewer pulls thread through the ball center and up through the holes in the leather pieces to cross-stitch them together. He rubs wax on the thread to stiffen it, because if it slackens, it's more likely to tangle. When it comes to cross-stitching, these workers are in a league of their own. They make quick work of the 108 stitches in each ball. There are 350 sewers in this factory, and they produce 8,000 to 10,000 balls per day. That's a lot of home runs. The final stitch goes through the center of the baseball and out the other side. The sewer then pulls the stitches into a V configuration to give the ball a consistent look and feel. The balls now roll into a press that smooths down the seams. Smoother balls are harder to grip, and they make pitching a bit tougher for the pros. Finally, a 3-headed stamper gives it the trademark, league logo, and the commissioner's signature. With drying cycles, it takes a week to make a professional baseball. It will be whacked and slammed out of the playing field. But that's life in the big leagues.
Hi, I'm Jonah Haas here with Quaker Nation, and this is Rick Stowe, clubhouse manager of the Cincinnati Reds. Rick, how much does your team spend on baseballs every year?
Jonah, we spend a lot of money on baseballs. We go through 2,700 dozen baseballs in a given season. At $84 a dozen, that comes out to about $226,000 in a season. It's $7 per baseball.
During a regular game, what kind of baseball is used?
We use the Rawlings Professional Baseball, hand-stitched. That's what we use, and in a given game, we use about 90 balls a game.
Do you guys play with any type of special baseballs ever?
Well, we do have special balls that are used for instance, like when we played the Washington Nationals years ago, when they opened up their ballpark, they had an inaugural ball. We used that. And then in the postseason, from last year, we used this postseason ball, which Rawlings makes specifically and specially for the postseason.
The value of the baseball goes much more than just the price you pay in the store. Many people collect autographed baseballs. In May of 2006, a baseball signed by both Joe DiMaggio and film star Marilyn Monroe was bought at $191,200, the highest amount of money paid for an autographed baseball. There are also all kinds of special baseballs. Whether it's the Home Run Derby baseball or the 100th season at Wrigley Stadium baseball, they are all huge collectibles. Baseballs are also mementos. When Derek Jeter got his 3,000th hit, for instance, that baseball was very valuable. But when Christian Lopez caught the home run that was Derek Jeter's 3,000th hit, he gave that historic baseball to the Yankee shortstop without asking for any money, even though it may have fetched over $100,000 on the open market.